I've been waiting too much time to be here. This is an opportunity for me. I'm pretty excited about this.
It's a cabinet slave. But we can call these delicate creatures ours and not their appetites.
Yo lo estoy disfrutando aquí y sí, sí es una buena presentación que están haciendo.
It affected me more than a movie might have. It got you like, oh, is this real or not? Like, you couldn't really tell the difference at points.
From the play, I learned that to be honest each other is better.
Love each other, don't get jealous, and love what you had, appreciate what you have.
How was it? It was awesome.
It was good.
I had a great time.
No, it was like really good. Like that's a really good acting skills.
At first I was like, oh, this couldn't be boring just watching a play. I gave it a try and it actually turned out to be fun.
The kids' feedback has been overwhelmingly heartwarming.
The whole experience made me more interested in theater. It made me think about like how, if I do theater, how I could make people feel the same way that they made me feel when I was watching the play. I think it is important for young adults to have these type of experiences because it gets to open their mindset into different things.
I know that this is a great experience for us as teenagers in school, and I just think that it's a very graceful thing to do.
If programs like this do this, we can realize that you care of us. So this is important for us, and we feel good at it.
Gracias a Noise Within por esta experiencia y por las actividades.
Thank you for this opportunity.
No, yeah, I actually want to say thank you.
Just thank you.
Thank you, everybody!
Oh, isn't that inspiring?
Wonderful.
It's quite beautiful. Hi, folks. Hello, friends. I'm Jeff Elliott, and
I'm Julia Rodriguez Elliott, and welcome to Fridays at 5.
we're so happy to have you here with us, and we're very excited about this upcoming Fridays at 5. Our wonderful educational director, Alicia Green, is going to share with us some of the secrets of A Noise Within's educational program. But we would like to send our hearts and our minds out to the firefighters and to the people who have been most directly affected by these fires all across, obviously, California and Oregon. It's quite a time, and our hearts are with you. We hope you're staying safe, and for everybody else, we hope you're staying safe too, given COVID. We're guessing that frogs are going to rain down probably tomorrow. But it's great to have you with us. I would like to take this moment to acknowledge that A Noise Within sits on the ancestral territory of that Gabrielino Tongva tribe. And we are grateful for their stewardship of the land.
And before we introduce our panel, I want to remind you that if you have any questions or any comments, you're welcome to type them in the comment box, and we'll try to get to as many of your questions as we possibly can. As most of you know, education is central to A Noise Within's mission. So as Jeff said, we're really delighted today to have an opportunity to focus on education. So I'd like to ask our panel to join us now. There they are.
There they are.
So we have our wonderful education director, Alicia Green, and 3 of our beloved teaching artists. So I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves, to tell us a little bit about their background, and perhaps share how each one of you came to teaching.
I'll go ahead and start. My name is Alicia Green. I hope I know many of you. I wish I could see all of you right now. My background started as an actor, and I was living in New York working as an actor, and I started to want a job that was different than my regular 9-to-5. I wanted something that I could be passionate about, and that was theater. And I literally applied to NYU's educational theater program 4 days before the semester started. I happened to find it, and I got really excited about it, and I called them, and they were like, yeah, let's fast track this. I went in thinking I was going to be a classroom teacher, and then through the 2-year program, I found teaching artistry, and I found that there was so much I could do on a larger scale as a teaching artist, and I never looked back. Tai, and actually I met Tai through this journey at Denver Center almost 11 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Am I, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We're good? Okay, so I'll go next since we sort of transitioned into that nicely. So I have been acting professionally since I was, or acting, I should say, since I was in high school. And as soon as I graduated, the very first job that I had was actually a teaching job at a summer camp. So I started teaching theater right out of high school. But I will say that I didn't actually know what I was doing until I got to until I got to Denver, Colorado, which was around 2004 or 2005, actually, when I got there. And I started working with the education department there, which is actually where I met Alicia, and we worked together there for the first time. And I worked with programs called things called like Living History, which kind of really shaped the way in which I've decided my teaching philosophy. And ever since then, I have absolutely loved it. I think it's a core tenet to how I work as an artist. I always want to be acting, but if I learn something for myself, it is my duty and obligation to pass that knowledge on to somebody else so that the craft can continue.
Jeremy.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Rabb. I come from a long line of teachers. My grandfather was a teacher, my dad for 40 years, my brother teaches. So it was sort of instilled in me kind of early. Even though I've been a professional actor for 30 years, I've been teaching along the way, coaching fellow actors, classmates of mine at drama school and also in college. But I was inspired to be an actor by a great teacher. So I kind of value that they really have the ability to sort of create artists. And so I've always, wanted to kind of share that and spread it as best as I can.
Fantastic. Can you speak for a second, Jeremy, about that that beard you had glued to your face during the video that we just saw? You have a particular relationship with that beard? Yeah. We may not have time.
Yeah, there was
to go into depth.
Well, no. There was a sort of a cry from the entire Noise Within community that I didn't look serious enough or educated enough. So I decided we tried making my eyebrows bigger and making the jowls, but we decided on that.
I thought it worked. Aubrey.
Hi. I am a professional actor. I've been one for some time now, and I got my MFA from the Old Globe, University of San Diego. And then I moved to New York, and I've been doing professional theater in New York and LA and all around the country in regional theaters. But when I moved to New York, I got hooked up with a company called Epic Theater Ensemble, and they're really, really focused on education. And that was essentially my job, my day job, my side gig as I was working as a professional actor. And sort of like Tai was saying, I started to realize that I love teaching at least as much as acting. And I think acting makes me a better teacher and teaching makes me a better actor. And I've taught a little bit of everything at A Noise Within. And I'm also a theater instructor at Moore Park College right now too. So and like Jeremy, I also come from a long line of teachers. There's a lot of teachers in the Savarino family, so it's a little in the blood too, I think.
And this organization's fairly incestual in that Aubrey's husband is the head of our marketing department. So
yes.
we are grateful to have the entire family on board.
Yes, including our toddler.
So before we jump in and talk a little bit more in depth, I would love it if Alicia, you would give us an overview of, education at A Noise Within, what we do and how we do it.
Yes, this is my favorite thing, and I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm going to start talking really fast, and I'm going to start talking a lot because I love what I do, and I love the depth and the breadth of the educational programming at A Noise Within. So at some point, someone's definitely going to have to cut me off. So I'm going to start with the students. First and foremost, we talk a lot about the 18,000 students we serve every year, and that's a lot, 18,000. And when you hear that number, that's incredible. But every time I remind myself, I'm like, every single one of those students is an individual. That is someone's life that we have impacted directly. And that is 18,000 individuals' lives that have been impacted directly through our programming. And what that programming is it could entail coming to the theater, first and foremost. For most of our kids, something like 97% of them have never seen live theater before. And so we're that first foray for them. We also do pre-show engagement activities for every student matinee, nicknamed SMAT, our student matinee SMAT program. We bring in our teaching artists and they engage in activities that relate to the themes of the shows that the kids are going to see. So it sort of starts to get their minds whirring and buzzing and thinking about how this show relates to them and starts questioning them about, have you ever been in a situation where you fought with a friend or you didn't get along with a family member, and starts getting those wheels turning. As soon as they come in the theater, they're given a program that includes portions of our study guides, which their teachers have had beforehand. And again, we ask those questions. We have a one-sheeter, and we really want to start just engaging them and making them feel like they 100% belong here, and here is why. This story is your story, and here is why. And then when the play starts, they have an immediate recognition of that's why that question is asked. This is where this is coming from. We've also recently, in the past 4 or 5 years, really grown a really robust in-school workshop and residency program, which is where our teaching artists go into the schools, either before and or after a show. And we can engage in a deeper, more meaningful way. The pre-show engagement activities are amazing, but we have maybe 20 minutes at best. We're outside. You have a group of 20 to 100. There's other groups of 20 to 100 around. But when you're in their classroom directly, we can tie it to their curriculum and we can go a little bit deeper and ask those questions on a more meaningful level. And we can do that pre and or post. And we've also done full residencies. This looks like a single classroom, or it looks like full school partnerships. The video you guys saw was RFK. Their entire school participates in that program, and they bring the entire school along with a parent to come see the show in the evening, and we do a special performance just for them. Lila in Burbank, they bring their entire 6th through 12th grade, and we do 2 workshops with every single student in that classroom. They also have the opportunity to meet directors and stage people, and they learn it's not just about acting, what other components are there to theater. So there's administrative, there's development, there's marketing, there's costumes, there's sets, there's makeup, there's hair, there's box office, there's ushers, and there's so many people that it takes to make the show. And when you go through that list with them, you can just see I didn't even know. You just think you're an actor. This is theater, I'm an actor. And so a lot of it's job preparedness as well, and just giving them an idea. If you love theater, but you don't like to act, great. Here's 400 other jobs that you could potentially do. We also do our summer camps. We just finished virtually this year our Summer Shakespeare program. I'm going to have Aubrey talk about that in a little bit. Everyone here has participated in that. Typically, we have about 160 kids, ages 3 to 18. We do start, it's so funny, people say 3, there's no way kids are doing Shakespeare at 3. Their parents are like, there is no way you're doing Shakespeare at 3. And then they come in and they're like, oh my gosh, my kid just did an entire monologue. Oh no, they just did a second entire monologue and a dance, and they learned who Shakespeare is, and they learned what the characters are, and they learned the etymology of words. They're 3. You can't be afraid of Shakespeare. Shakespeare is for all, including 3-year-olds and our 18-year-olds. So we run the gamut. We've also run some online classes, which has been really great. And then it doesn't end at the students. Sometimes the students may not be able to get to the theater, but the teachers can. So we run professional development opportunities for our principals and administrators and our teachers. And we have Educator Extravaganza, which is a huge, this year we did it virtually and it was as amazing as in person. And we have a couple hundred educators participate, and we give them the tools that they can take back into the classroom on how to teach this in their class. You know, as adults, we're taught like almost Shakespeare is scary. And so teachers are like, I can't do this. And 100% they can. You just need the tools. And it depends on what you teach. Some teachers can use this, some teachers can use this. So we want to give them a whole breadth of things. Is it a movement physicality approach that you're comfortable with? Is it social justice that you're comfortable with? Is it just simply text? Like, I just need to learn how to scan a piece of work. So we try to provide those tools for them. And then honestly, we can just reach so many more kids, which is what it's about, right? It's not about us. It's about making sure that the kids are getting this type of arts education, because unfortunately, most arts education programs in schools are lacking. And so anything we can do to provide support for the teachers and the students is super meaningful. And then we also have principals nights. We do tickets for teachers. We really try to run the gamut. The study guides I mentioned before. Anything that we can do to give you tools in your toolbox to be able to teach and work with the kids, or just give it directly to the kids, that's ultimately what we want to do. Did I miss anything? I feel like
only Alicia could get all that in record time. Thank you.
It's extraordinary how much happens in that educational department.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And considering where we started, it's unbelievable. And clearly anybody listening can tell that Alicia is a force of nature. So thank you very much.
So what exactly is a teaching artist? I read this wonderful description that I wanted to share. A practicing professional artist with the complementary skills, curiosity, and sensibility of an educator. And this individual also said, teaching artists are the future of art in America, which I absolutely believe. But what is it about the unique approach and perspective that you as artists bring to teaching that is so, effective and critical to the success of teaching this literature?
Whew. Oh wow, I love that definition. That's
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
It's such a great question. I think part of it is, as a teaching artist, I am in love with theater, and I have been in love with theater for a very long time. And so whenever I'm teaching, I'm sharing something that I love and that I'm deeply passionate about, and that it's very easy and exciting for me to share that love, and that it actually it constantly fills me up, because every time I see a student get excited about theater or fall in love with theater or learn something that they know, I actually feel fuller than before. So it's this endless reservoir, I think, of passion and excitement. And I hope that rubs off on the students, because it's their excitement certainly rubs off on me, certainly.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
I do definitely think that there is that piece that is just the level of passion that you have for the craft in and of itself. So like to me, the teaching artist is the person who is actively engaged in the craft as well, and in the moments when they are teaching it. And I think that because of that, our love for what it is that we're communicating is always going to start to bleed through. The level of commitment that we have to it, the level of artistry that we put into it, and making sure that the students understand the level of work that goes into like breaking down a piece of text and really understanding what's going on, so to get to the point where it then goes to the stage and becomes something that looks like it happened with ease. But because of what we do, we spend the time to sort of educate them, and specifically when we're talking about Shakespeare, knowing that language is not meant to just be worked on the page, that we're going to take it and we're going to put it onto the stage. That is the ultimate goal, because it's not just an intellectual exercise that we're doing. We're not just teaching them about what it means, but we're teaching them about the feelings that go along with it and how to communicate those things effectively to their fellow artists on stage, as well as to the audience that's come to see their show. So
fantastic. Jeremy Rabb.
I got nothing to add.
You said
what I was going to say.
You're batting cleanup.
I didn't stretch before this. No, I mean, that was Aubrey and Tai incredibly articulate. I will say it's the artist part of teaching artists that because we're performers, that because we are good at communicating and reading other actors or other characters, being very observant of mankind, that we're more likely to connect to students, I think, because we're actively listening, actively understanding how can I communicate the incredible nature of Shakespeare, for instance. I'm going to see if a student will respond to this particular exercise or this piece of text, or how can I get through, as opposed to, as Tai, I think, put beautifully, sort of an academic, sort of straightforward, these are the facts. It's a much more engaged human connection, I think, we're going for, and that's what Shakespeare was all about, is the human connection. So I take great pride in the artist quality, the artist part of the term, teaching artists, because it is so, it's about empathy. It's about how can I get this across? And that's what we spend so much of our time doing as performers as well. So I think that it flows in beautifully in terms of how we teach or try to teach.
Yeah, it feels to me that you know, really the 21st century artist is an educator, and I think that we're all better for it.
Yeah, and talk. Will you talk a little bit specifically? Anybody can jump in here. Talk about some of those exercises. Shakespeare is inherently intimidating to people because of the scansion, because Shakespeare is just something that you have to create a world out of whole cloth. The language itself, until you begin to understand what's being said, it seems like a different language. No wonder those parents thought, that's impossible. There's no way my 3-year-old could do that. Talk a little bit about some of those exercises. What do you do to bring it to life for these kids?
Honestly, the younger they are, the easier it is, because people are still acquiring language. Even in high school, right? You read a text, you don't know every word in that text. You're learning as you read. And so by approaching it, it's a foreign language. You're not going to go into a French play and be like, I'm going to understand this. I know what you're saying. You translate it. And by acknowledging that this is not your language, this is not in your English, it's very easy. And for me, and I'd love to hear from you guys, I put everything physically. And once you put in your body, we've had kids come up, I've had teachers comment, like, I have them be animals. And if you're doing a Shakespeare monologue while you're being a monkey, you're so focused on making sure your monkey looks really good for your friends that you don't even think about what you're saying. We've already talked about what they're saying. We talked about what they mean. And so they inherently get it. They have the meaning behind it, but they're so busy trying to be this monkey doing this monologue that they're like, cool. And I've had kids walk into the theater after a workshop and be like, Miss, remember? And they do their elephant nose or their tiger walking in. And they don't even think about the fact that they literally just learned a Shakespeare monologue and totally get it. They just remember, I was really good as that bear.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I think we do this thing called story whoosh a lot, which is starting with the story and having the students jump in and play, like, okay, so here's the story. It starts out with a shipwreck, and you have the students jump in and play it. And the thing is, these stories are amazing. They're fascinating, right? I mean, kids are on the edge of their seat. I specifically remember doing one for Winter's Tale, and we stopped before the end, and everyone was like, what's gonna happen? So they were so excited to go in and see the production because we were telling the story. So starting with the story, I mean, I think we get most kids hooked. And then definitely taking away any self-consciousness about the language. I'm a professional actor. I have my master's degree in this. I still look up words. I still look up pronunciation. There's no like end to learning Shakespeare, and that make that really clear that it's totally okay to not understand a word. Great, we'll look it up. That's what an artist does. So that we take any self-consciousness about the language out and make it more of a discovery of what we can find when we look up a definition or a word or something. What else can we learn from it? So those are two things I like to do.
That sounds like so much fun. Can I take your class?
Please do. Anyone can.
And I just had someone comment and say, love the story whoosh. We are whooshing all around Pasadena Unified.
Yes, Karen, represent. Call out Open Stage Program, PUSD. Absolutely.
And you know what's also wonderful about this is that the three of you, Tai, Aubrey, and Jeremy, you're currently performers as you're also teaching. And of course, that's what got Alicia into this thing in the first place, was performing. Will you talk a little bit about what it's like to perform for kids as opposed to performing for an adult audience? It's a rarefied air. It's very different. So anybody jump in, Tai?
I'm ready to, because I love performing for kids because they have not learned the filters that we have learned as adults, right? When they when they have a reaction to something, it is pure, it is loud, it is boisterous, it is natural, and I love that energy that just sort of comes from like experiencing something with a sense of wonder. And I think that we still have that ability as adults, but there's something that kids have that just like I said, they haven't learned the proper social cues, or like they don't know all the ways that you're supposed to behave when you're in the theater. They are having their natural responses, and it's so much fun to have that kind of energy in the space because it feeds naturally what you want to do on stage in a way that I think that you can get with an adult audience. Of course, it's still present, but it's just a little bit more pure, I think, with a room full of students and children.
Yeah.
Now, Jeremy, you've been in a lot of productions at A Noise Within, a lot of student matinees, and a lot of post-show conversations. We always host a question and answer period after productions. Any particular, experience that you had that comes to mind, either in performing for students or in those post-show conversations?
Yeah, I have a couple, and they're both about Lear. I was playing Cornwall, who is a nasty piece of work, who at one point in the show he tortures another character by blinding him. Those of you who don't know, he rips out his eyes. It's an incredibly powerful, violent moment. And I remember thinking, boy, the kids are going to go bonkers for this one. And we start to do it, and it's fantastic because, as Tai said, they're just so visceral. They're just giving you their honest opinion the whole time, and you really get a sense. You're rediscovering the language. Everything is just very active and raw. And as I'm doing it, they are going bonkers, but there's a nervousness because they don't know how to respond. I hear one kid go, "Oh no, he didn't," really loudly. Then I hear people laughing because they're just dealing with this weird emotion. And what happened then is, after I do that moment, I'm killed, and Gloucester, who I've just tortured, is carried off, and all that's left is Regan, my wife. And the way Julia staged it was the chair where he was being tortured suddenly becomes a kind of throne, and she saunters over to it and sits down, and you see the power, and it's a lovely moment. But with the kids, the girls in the audience cheered like it was, the roof almost flew off the place. It was so, they just got it immediately. And it's such you feel like you're communicating the story so unbelievably clearly when you get that moment, and it just lifts everything. It is an elevated sense of the performance relative to adults, because it's like having groundlings. You're right there. It's like a sports event. And the only other thing I was going to say is we had a talk back of Lear. I don't think it was that show, when people were just talking about stuff they liked, and how do you learn all your lines and things like that. And then one sort of shy boy said, I didn't really get the play reading it. There are just so many characters in Lear. There's so much going on. Suddenly there's a storm, and I didn't get it. But watching you guys, not only did you bring it to life, but I actually cried. And I wasn't expecting that. It was very brave to kind of say that in a sea of high school students. And, it's very touching to know, to affect a young mind so powerfully. And he wasn't the only one who was affected that way. he was just one of the few brave enough to express it. So it's that kind of energy that it's pretty remarkable. If you're a new artist and you're not used to it, it can be very disconcerting. Like, why won't they just be quiet? I got to act, you know? But then once you kind of get used to it, you realize it's just such a remarkable energy that you want to kind of harness.
You know, that's a really good point. What you got to jump in and tell me what you think. I've performed in front of a lot of kids too, and I think that we've become kind of too sanitized and too used to these quiet adult audiences, and that we've got something extraordinary to learn from performing for these kids, because as Thais said, it's a pure reaction. So, and often as actors, we're so used to these respectful adult audiences that it's very vulnerable to be up there. And it's easy for you to think, oh, they're only laughing at me. They're only doing this. They're not listening, etc. When in actuality, they're just responding the way that they were meant to respond. And I think we need to get back to some of that with our adult audiences, so people feel that they're really a part of the performance as opposed to coming to some museum piece.
Yeah.
Do you get that sense?
Yeah, I don't think
Absolutely.
Shakespeare's audiences were polite, right? I mean, I don't think they sat there in their comfy chairs and, sipped their wine from intermission.
No, you were lucky if they only threw a chicken leg at you. Something that didn't have a hard edge.
Well, I think that's why it's so wonderful when we have, in our evening performances, there's always student audiences. So to me, that mix of energy between student and adult audience is wonderful, because I think we're all better for it. And it really energizes the room and the plays. And I think it sometimes gives adults the freedom to be a little naughtier than they might be otherwise.
Yeah, naughty is okay to me.
Yeah, it's a good word for it.
We have a question for you. Is interacting with those who never had the theatrical experience and may have no preconceived ideas about theater or Shakespeare is somehow pure? Is that a form of freedom as a teacher? That question just came in.
I'd love to jump in if you guys like, because I think it's a little bit of both. I think that the hook is what's important. When I'm working with a group of students who've never experienced theater and have never experienced Shakespeare before, how I hook them into the idea of dealing with the text and getting into the text is really the ultimate moment. And I do think there is something pure about it, because once they're on board, it is magical for them and it is brand new, and that's always beautiful. And sometimes finding the right hook to get them into it so that they have that magical moment where it goes like, oh, I get this. I can understand it. I can play with this language. I know I actually do understand what's going on. I think that finding the thing that gets them into it is the thing that becomes the most difficult, but then it's such a beautiful moment.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah. I was just going to say that we were talking before that it's different, that Shakespeare is different and has all this other vocabulary. But what I try to really emphasize is it's a lot closer to how we speak than we realize. That if we don't get stuck in the weeds of this word or that phrase, or you actually, it's really modern. And the iambic pentameter is very often the way we speak. And so if I have a student who's just brand new to it, that's sort of my way in, is let's just kind of play with this. I'll pick some, wonderful monologue or a sonnet. Very often it's very helpful for people just kind of brand new to Shakespeare, and just hooking in. If you can just find one phrase, they're like, oh, wow, that's really beautiful. The way he does this one thing, and without trying to, eat the hamburger in one bite. Like, I've got to fully understand this entire monologue and what Shakespeare was thinking. It's just that turn of phrase, can be sufficient. My mom's a good example, because she wasn't necessarily a huge Shakespeare fan, but then she'll remember some piece of poetry and repeat it and say it, and it sticks with her. And that's sort of the axis in I want to learn more about this guy. I want to see, what else is going on.
Fantastic.
Well, we have been navigating, really uncharted territory with the pandemic and teaching during the pandemic. So I would love to get your thoughts on, virtual teaching and learning and what you have learned in the process of that.
Sure.
Maybe Alicia, do you want to talk a little bit? I know that you had to very quickly pivot and our Shakespeare was entirely virtual. So I'm sure you have some thoughts about that.
Yeah, in about 3 weeks, we had online classes that we were engaging essentially both children and adults just to give people access points back into the theater and to feel the sense of community while we were all at home. And then in that time, basically by early May, we had transitioned our entire summer Shakespeare camp into virtual, thanks to all my incredible teaching artists and some incredible people with tech. I mean, we had to learn the tech. Like, how are we going to do this? I was talking to my swords teaching artists and saying, how are we going to teach a swords class virtually? I was talking to my dance teachers saying, how are we going to do this virtually? And I don't know if now's the time. Aubrey's class, she did the high school kids this summer with Antony and Cleopatra. But honestly, like, we all worked tirelessly, and I just started sobbing the minute we got our final videos. It was worth it. It was just worth seeing what we were able to do with very, very quick turnaround and having to learn tech and figure out how to do everything. So I don't know, Aubrey, if you want to set this up, if this is the time, but I think this is a really good example of what we did in 6 weeks.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Alicia was amazing. Obviously, there was so much on your end that you had to transfer to. But so I directed the high school production. It was Antony and Cleopatra. And last summer, I had directed it on the main stage and live on the Noise Within main stage. And so obviously this summer I had to rethink everything. High schoolers, Zoom, Antony and Cleopatra. How is this going to work? Luckily, we had all the same support as we usually do. Tai was the text and speech coach. So got to work, fully on the text with them. We had dance. We had all the other instructors helping out. But yeah, very quickly I had to learn pivot to managing online. I had to learn how to edit on iMovie. Not a skill I thought I would need as a theater teaching artist. So learned that in a few days. But it was really exciting to see what did work. I mean, first of all, Shakespeare is meant to be heard. The language is delicious, and that doesn't change in whatever format you are doing it. And the students were still really excited to dig into that, I found. They got to make their own costumes, which we have some clips of the show, which we'll show you all, but they decided to set it in the Revolutionary War. They made Cleopatra sort of live in America and Caesar be from England. And they made these, I don't know how they did it. I don't know how many red coats were in these kids' closets, but they look amazing.
Those costumes blew my mind. They were amazing.
Blew my mind. So it was just delightful to see how creative they were. I don't know when you want to show the video, but
why don't we show it now?
Okay. It's a lot of different clips of, we sort of, in 2 minutes, you can sort of see a little, a mix of what we did. So yeah, go for it. We'll explain after.
I want you so bad, babe. I want you so bad. It's driving me mad. I want you.
News, my good lord, from Rome.
I want you so bad.
Nay, here's him, Antony. Fulvia perchance is angry, or who knows if the scare-spirited Caesar have not sent his powerful mandate to you. Do this, or this, take in that kingdom, and enfranchise that, perform it, or else we damn thee.
Oh my brave emperor, this is thought indeed. Had we done so at first, we would have driven them home. They'll bleed us the pace. We'll beat them into bench holes. I have yet room for 6 scotches more.
Sir, they are beaten, and our advantage serves for a fair victory.
I want thy love, and all thy love is revenge. Thee and me could write a bad romance.
She loved what our purpose is, and being royal took her own way. She shall be buried by her auntie. No grave upon the earth shall clip in it a pair so famous.
Underneath my skin, holding on to the sweet
Wow. Excellent.
We had a lot of fun with our music choices. I don't know if you could tell it's a little anachronistic for Revolutionary War, but we had a good time.
And Aubrey, tell us, and a lot of those choices in terms of the music and all of that, that was all theirs as a group. They decided.
Yeah, they would select music. We were trying to figure out how do we do these battle scenes, right? Because we definitely had some help from swords, but then we could just put a slide up, but why not splice a little actual battle in there while we're at it, So yeah, that was a lot of that creativity came from the students directly themselves.
Is fantastic.
That is one.
I have to tell you, when we were all talking about this, and Alicia was we had all the COVID stuff happening, and Alicia was going to try to pull off this summer with Shakespeare online. I thought, oh my God, how is that even possible? How can you? I hope she can do it, but how is it? But my God, you did it with flying colors, and that is the most delightful thing I've seen in a long time. Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you. I get a lot of joy from watching them. It makes me happy every time.
Just a trip.
Alicia, we have a question, and the question is, would love details on virtual engagement plans for the new school year.
So we are I'm doing a big project with USC. We're working with their incoming thematic option, their entire incoming thematic option freshman class. So they're all I'm working with 7 professors on curriculum around Shakespeare and all of their syllabus this year. And so we are going to do pre and post show workshops for every single student in that class, engaging directly with the text in a performative way. Like Aubrey said before, these were never meant to be read. They were written to perform. And so a lot of times you get the students who are like, I don't understand. There's too many people. What is happening? And so we're going to be able to lift this off the page in a way virtually that normally we would go in their classroom, but we're going to do it virtually this year. And then actually, as soon as this is done, I'm kicking all 3 of these off because we are also doing 4 streaming readings with them as well. So we're doing Hamlet, Antigone, a play called Peerless, and a version of Glass Menagerie that we are going to be doing. So all their kids, since they can't come to the theater, it was really important for this particular program at USC because engagement and immersive activities are such a component of what they do and how they learn that we wanted to do what we could to get in the classroom for them. So currently at the tail end of the deep dive of that, and then constantly we're going to work, everything works really well online. I've been talking to Keisha at Audubon. They were our recipients of our School of the Year for our virtual gala this year, and we're hoping something there. Hi, I know Karen Anderson from PUSD. We have the open stage program, so hopefully we may be able to work something with that. Honestly, everything is doable virtually. We can do workshops. You can do streaming. You can bring actors into your classroom. Honestly, in some ways, people's schedules are a lot easier now. And so to be able to get actors into the classroom is doable in a way that it wasn't before. And designers design and then they go to Germany and design their next project. So I can't bring them into the classroom. I can now. And so we're really going to hope that we're going to be able to do that in the next few weeks, months, hopefully into next year, and still be able to work with the students in live theater with the workshops, with all of that. So if you are interested in doing that, I'm on furlough right now, so you'll get an email from me saying I'm not there. So your contact is going to be Michael Bateman. And you can look online, or we can make sure you get that contact information, because this is all doable. And I can't, it makes my heart bleed to think that these kids aren't getting this engagement. It's really hard. That's something we learned a lot with virtual learning is you can't our classes weren't even an hour long. They're 30 minutes. Kids need a break. Screen time for as long as they're in school is a lot. And so to be able to engage physically, have them dance around. I know Mary mentioned being a monkey sounded fun. It is. And they can do that in their homes. And it's a break. And they're still learning. And they're still getting a theatrical experience. And there's a lot that we can do to support teachers in this way, to be able to help break this up and support their curriculum. And we can help parents in this way to be able to continue to provide arts education. So I really hope, and obviously, you know, we're all in a hard spot and who knows, and everyone's still figuring things out, but I'm really hoping that as the months go by, we're able to lock in some of the same programming that we've always done.
You know, the virtual is extraordinary. You've done miracles with it, you and all of you. And at the same time, I have to say that initial video that we watched today, when I saw all those kids sitting in the theater, it was like a gut punch, because there's nothing like it too. Having everybody in that room, and I'm looking forward to having both this in terms of online and also having that back. So you guys are extraordinary.
We'll be back.
Thank you so much.
For anyone tuning in who's interested in these programs, as Alicia said, go on our website, and Michael Bateman will get any and all information to Alicia. So thank you, guys. We're so lucky that you're a part of the A Noise Within family. You guys are fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Everybody stay safe. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Very good. And we should be announcing a series of readings that will be part of Fridays at 5 very soon. So stay tuned. Good to see you all.
Have a good weekend. And thank you all again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.